Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Thomas, and this is The Bottom Line. Well, by now, everyone has heard the name Aaron Alexis. He was the shooter who killed 12 people at the Naval Sea Systems Command Headquarters in Washington, D.C. He was armed with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, a shotgun, and a handgun. Now, this is a terrible tragedy. And I am sure, as always, people will try to find answers to stop all violence, as well they should, every time one of these terrible instances occurs. The people who would want to disarm America will be screaming from the rooftops that we need to take all guns away and the violence will stop. From the other side, we will hear that guns don't kill people, people do. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let me get to what concerns me. Aaron Alexis had only been in Washington, D.C. for around 1 month, yet had complete clearance to enter a supposedly secure armed naval base with a rifle, a shotgun, and a handgun. He'd been living at a nearby residence inn. The FBI said Alexis had a valid pass and a security clearance to enter the Naval Yard as a civilian contractor. And he got this clearance in only 1 month. Okay, let's go a little further. There are no searches of vehicles coming onto this naval base. Aaron Alexis brought this arsenal of his that could have been and should have been stopped at the front gate. But let's move on. Why did Aaron Alexis shoot and kill 12 people he evidently didn't even know? Investigators are now saying that he was a military veteran that suffered from serious mental illness and could act quickly and violently when angered. U.S. law enforcement officials told the Associated Press that Alexis, who died in the shootout with law enforcement officials, had paranoia and a sleep disorder and was hearing voices in his head. The AP quotes unidentified sources saying that Alexis had been treated by the U.S. VA for serious mental illnesses, including hearing voices. Family members also told investigators that Alexis has been treated for mental illness. Law enforcement officials told the AP they had been treated since August by the VA. The officials all spoke on the condition of anonymity because the criminal investigation was continuing. Okay, so no red flags anywhere while he purchased weapons in the last 30 days in Virginia while living at a hotel? Really? Well, maybe he had no violence in his history. Well, actually, he had run-ins with police over 2 shootings, one in Fort Worth and one in Seattle, but he was never charged. They say he had also been discharged as an active duty naval reservist for misconduct, perhaps related to gun incidents and also maybe nursing a grudge. Whatever prompted Alexis' rampage, he moved quickly and methodically to carry these deadly assaults out. Law enforcement officials said it wasn't apparent that Alexis had targeted specific people. He had been a full-time Navy reservist from 07 to 11, leaving as a petty officer, 3rd class, serving with Fleet Logistics Support Squadron 46 at the Naval Air Station in Fort Worth. He was arrested at least once in 2010 for firing a gun through the ceiling of his apartment. He told police it was just an accident. Seattle police now released details that say in 2004, he shot the rear tires out of a vehicle owned by a construction worker doing work in his neighborhood. Alexis told police he had been an anger-fueled blackout and they had been mocked and disrespected for these workers. He also told police he was present during the tragic events of 9/11 and described how those events had disturbed him. Detectives later spoke with his father in New York, who had told police that Alexis had anger management problems associated with PTSD and that he had been an active participant in rescue attempts during 9/11. Yet with all these red flags, the Navy had not declared this defense contract employee mentally unfit, which would have rescinded his security clearance that Alexis had from his earlier time in the Navy Reserves. Here's the bottom line. This guy was mentally ill. Can it be any plainer than that? He was mentally ill, and the Navy knew it. The police departments in Seattle and Fort Worth probably knew that. And even his own father knew it. All the red flags were flying high. Yet we allow him to buy a gun. The Navy allows him to have access to a secure naval base. Let me repeat what I've said numerous times right here on the bottom line. As a nation, as a state, and as a community, we do not do enough to treat the mentally ill, and especially veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder. And until we pull our heads out of the sand and realize that mental illness needs our attention, we are going to continue to hear about these terrible tragedies, just like the one at the naval base in Washington, D.C., again in the near future. You can see more episodes of The Bottom Line at thebottomline.tv. I'm Bob Thomas.